Have you ever had a mentor that you respected more than anyone else on earth? Someone that you could learn from and be with day in and day out. Someone that you trusted with your very life. Well, Jesus was that kind of mentor for me. And not just for me, but for my sister Martha and my brother Lazarus. We would do anything for Jesus and the disciples. We hosted them at our house, which was an expensive undertaking. Can you imagine all the food that 13 men can eat for dinner? But it was worth it. It was worth every penny. Or so I thought. Until Jesus let me down. You see, my brother Lazarus was sick. He was really sick. He was on his deathbed. And my sister Martha and I we knew that if we could just get a hold of Jesus and he came to our home in Bethany, we knew that he could heal our brother. So we sent word to Jesus and told him, the one you love is sick. The messenger came back and told us that Jesus was deeply impacted by the message and he would be by in a few days. A few days? A few days? Days? My brother is on his deathbed. Every minute counts. And it's not like Jesus is in the middle of something. He was just hanging out with the disciples. And weren't we important to him? Didn't Jesus care about my brother, Lazarus? Did he care about me and Martha? I couldn't believe it. When Jesus and the disciples finally made it to the outskirts of town, it was 4 days after Lazarus's funeral. Where was Jesus while my brother took his last breath? Where was Jesus as we washed his dead body and prepared him for burial? Where was Jesus when we anointed his decaying body with perfume to make it not smell like death just a little bit longer? Where was Jesus when we laid him in the tomb and we went home with an emptiness in our hearts? How could he do this to us? When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him and was crazy enough to say that God could do anything that Jesus asked, even now. But what could be done? And then Jesus had the nerve to tell my sister that Lazarus would rise and Jesus himself was the resurrection and the life. Jesus can't be the resurrection and the life if he allows death to happen. It didn't make sense. And then Martha gets home and tells me that Jesus is looking for me. He knows where to find me. He knows what he's done. But I can't help myself. So I ran from home. I ran from my home from the comfort of my home and the circle of friends who had come to console me in my grief, in my despair. I left them and I ran as fast as I could. And then I fell. I fell at Jesus' feet because I just couldn't do it anymore. I didn't have the strength or energy to even stand. And to be honest, I couldn't look Jesus in the eyes. He was no longer my hero, my master. He let me down in my darkest hour. So all I could do was tell him that if he had been here, my brother would not have died. I wanted him to know how disappointed and broken I was. How betrayed I felt by his absence. And then the tears. The tears started and I cried. I cried so bitterly as my friends came and held me. And they cried with me. Jesus watched me lying there, crying, with every last ounce of energy I had, and he asked me to go to the cemetery and see where Lazarus was buried. And then for the first time, I saw Jesus cry as we walked together toward the place where my dead brother was laid.
I am the betrayer. I am the weak, the liar, the violent. I am the rock upon whom the church will be built. I am Peter. I was there, his friend, his brother, his servant. On his deathbed, his final hours, he called to me and James and John. His final hours. Stay here and keep watch with me. In agony, alone, he prayed, for we were asleep. Could we not watch with him for 1 hour on his deathbed? Pray with him? He is at hand that doth betray me. Nay, I shall lay down my life for thy sake. Yet, verily, verily, I say unto thee, the cock shall not crow till thou hast denied me thrice. I am the blind, the deaf. He is at hand that doth betray me. Nay, Lord, I shall not pray with you, I shall not sit with you. On your deathbed in your final hours, I shall take action. Wherefore I sleep, wherefore I rise. I lend him not mine ear. Wilt thou lay down thy life for my sake? Nay, Lord, I shall flee. He is at hand that doth betray me. I know not what thou sayest. An oath? I do not know the man. Yea, even I curse and swear, I know not the man. Of whom do I speak, O Simon, O Rock, O Peter? Of whom do I speak? He is at hand that doth betray me. I am he, and I shall weep bitterly from beyond the walls. I could not watch with him on his deathbed in his final hours. I could not stand with him when the kiss came, hold him fast. I could not be for him outside the walls in the morning. I am he, the rock on whom the church will be built. I am he whom Jesus loved, and yet I slept.
I was there. It seemed like I always was. From the very beginning, from the day he was born, I loved him. I held him in my arms and everything in my heart, from the praise of the angels to my own questions and longings for what he would become. He and I belonged to each other, my son and I, but it wasn't long before I had to share him, to give him up. I must be about my Father's business, he said. And what was that? Jesus had to belong to the people, even to the tax collectors and prostitutes. They needed him. They needed his stories, his healing, and his preaching. He was everything to them, just like he was to me. And then the time came where even they had to give him up. It wasn't fair. His time was so short, too short. No mother should have to watch her son die. When Jesus was still a baby, Joseph and I took him to a temple. There, an old man named Simon told me, "A sword will pierce your heart." I couldn't have known what he meant. I was so happy then, so proud of my beautiful son. I think I have an idea now. This grief will stay in my heart like a piercing wound. But my son left me so much more than that when he died. He gave me a family. Everyone who loved him, everyone who feels that sort of grief with me, we are the ones who belong to each other now.
I knew that I was born to die for humanity, and yet here I am in this garden, hearing the footsteps of the soldiers getting closer, knowing that they will whip me, spit on me, mock me, and beat me, knowing that blood will fall from my hands and feet from the nails that will pierce my flesh, knowing that they will stab me to make sure I'm dead, knowing that I will struggle for hours not to suffocate as I hang on a cross, naked and in shame and misery for the world to see. And when I think about that, God, I'm scared. I know it's why I came here, but I don't want to be tortured, humiliated, and persecuted. Is there any other way? Could this cup of suffering pass from me? Do I really have to do it? And if I do have to suffer and die a horrible and painful death, do I have to do it while feeling forsaken by you? Knowing that you are my Father and that we have done every moment of my ministry together has made all the difference. It has comforted and empowered me, but I feel so terribly alone right now, Father. Where are you, God? I'm scared and alone, and I don't want to die, and my disciples are sleeping over there, totally unaware of what I'm going through, unaware of who I am and what is about to happen. Even Peter, who will betray me before the sun rises, has no idea how his betrayal will cut to my soul and make me question if they'll ever get it, if they'll ever see all that I have been saying and doing to love them and save them and serve them. God, is this the only way? Dad, I don't want to do this. Help me. But if there's no other way, if this has to be done, then let's get started.